Let's delve further into a few of these questions, because I've seen a bunch of them. The thread is now at 170 posts, but I know not everyone has time to slog through that. The big things that I sort of see again and again and again is generally asking, you know, a lot of good stuff about specific characters. So, for example, I've already addressed Mercy. She is very, very different from the medic in how she actually plays moment to moment. You have to be a lot more proactive. Because you have that damage amp, you can't sort of sit back and just pump healing into someone. You have to be thinking, who's fighting, who needs the damage amp, who needs me most of all right now, and do I need to then move back and provide healing to the tank? Also, to answer a question that even I had was that, you know, how does healing interact with armor? Healing will fix armor, so that's actually quite useful to know. One question that I can see is, how annoying were sentries compared to Team Fortress 2? The interesting thing with the sentries in Overwatch is you don't have a dispenser, so you can't really form a concentrated nest. You can't sit behind it easily and just sort of whack away. Now, Purebjorn's sentry is very, very powerful. It has a decent range on it, and it tracks pretty quickly, but you do have options for dealing with it. You can just, you know, blast it away with rockets. You can use a tank to sort of put a shield in front of you, for example, and actually fight the damn thing. And it's not like Purebjorn can just sit there and repair it. He will run out of scrap when doing that, so you can force him off it. It makes it a little bit more dynamic than Team Fortress 2's engineers, at least in pub games. And for the casual player, which is where my mind is really at. I know a lot of people are very big into Team Fortress 2 competitive, or a lot of people who are interested in Overwatch who have come from that community, but also just playing pub games. You're going to get less instances of, you know, 3 Purebjorns camping a point with a shitload of sentries. You're going to have options for dealing with that. Symmetra's sentries are kind of interesting. They're a lot smaller and they're more supportive. What I mean by that is they will slow down the enemy character, and that's actually very, very useful for fighting someone like Tracer, for example, who is, you know, built on mobility. So by slowing her down and constantly dealing this small amount of damage, it really doesn't kill people very quickly unless you have all 3 of them focusing a single individual. Then you can do a lot with that. You can, you know, as a Widowmaker, as someone who played Widowmaker a lot, I was just popping off people getting hit by Symmetra turrets, and the nice thing is you can see the beam the turret is firing connecting to someone, so it's a good way of keeping an eye on where they are if they duck behind a corner that you can't see around, but they're still getting hit by the turret, so you have a visual cue for when they're going to come round. It's a really useful tool, and one that, you know, Symmetra and Widowmaker, really nice combo. Really strong combo, because it slows down the enemy, gives you a chance to get that important headshot, lets you take them out, and boom, bish bash bosh, you've won. One question I keep seeing as well is, you know, overlap between other first-person shooters in this game, so will my skills transfer? The answer is yes. I noticed throughout the night that, you know, I was trying to keep an eye on how things were balancing out and seeing how people were organising themselves, and over the night we basically had 2 sort of tables to play on, so we had 2 rounds constantly going, and the group that we had basically segregated into people who were more experienced and people who were less experienced, and you could really tell that the more experienced players, they were winning. The people with more first-person shooter experience, the people with more team play experience were doing very, very, very well. You will definitely be able to carry some of your experience from Team Fortress 2, from Counter-Strike, from Battlefield, from Call of Duty, from wherever you come from, and put it to use here. What I'll also say is you will also be able to bring a little bit, not an enormous amount, but a little bit of MOBA experience as well. So if you are into Dota, if you are into League of Legends, if you are into, I don't know, Heroes of New Earth and Smite and whatever the hell you're into, Dawngate for all I know, you poor sod, then you will be able to bring some of the sort of team thinking, because that's really what's at the core of the game. Underneath this delicious first-person shooter pastry, and there goes my computer again, sounding like a jet engine. Let's go back to the pie analogy. Underneath this delicious, flaky first-person shooter, you know, pastry is a delicious core of really team-based, team-focused gameplay, and it has a huge potential with that. There are a lot of questions about things ancillary to the game, so things like first-person, things like field of view sliders, things like you know, non-Blizzard controlled servers, custom maps. The overall impression I got was, first of all, I wouldn't expect too much in terms of individual customization, in terms of option settings. They kind of want everyone playing. When one person sits down and plays, they want them seeing the exact same thing as what someone else plays. That seems to be very much in their minds, that no one's going to have an upper hand just because they, are willing to turn off all the graphics. They want it so that, the graphics aren't in the way, and we'll see how that actually pans out in reality. Another thing they were saying was that, another thing that I will say is that if I am ever in doubt whether I should, say this piece of news or not, or say, they said this or not, because it might be potentially new information, I'm going to err on the side of caution for now and not confirm anything. But I will be confirming a few things for the March 6th video. So when the NDA breaks on March 6th, then I'll be answering all the questions that I can, basically, and answering everything that I'm afraid of answering now. An important thing that people were asking about as well is, how does the changing characters really interact with the game? It's a big thing. It's a really big thing. It would be insane if you couldn't. A big part of the strategy of the game, the thinking of the game, is changing your composition to suit your needs. And it's not a big spoiler to say that we had a developer show match at the end of the evening where we got to see two developer teams play against each other, and we started to see some inklings of what high level play might look like, and they're definitely the best players in the world right now. So it was good to see what they were doing, because when we were playing, we're still trying to get used to the individual characters, right? We're still trying to get used to, how various individuals work and how various individuals play. What they had was, how do we work as a team? And there's a specific moment during that show match, which I won't spoil too much because they might show that show match at PAX, or I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do with that footage. But basically one of the teams picks wrong, and they pick a wrong team comp, and it really hurts them. It really does hurt them. So if you're not up to scratch on that strategy side of the game, you're going to lose, just as if you're not good on the first-person shooter side of the game. It really has that core of, we need to be picking the right people for the right time and doing the right thing with them. And that, to me, has so much potential for, letting the good players and letting the good teams shine. And that's really the core of what will make a good game for an esport, is when you have ways of good players to differentiate themselves from bad ones. And Overwatch has a lot of that, not just first-person shooter skill, but in terms of strategy, decision making, moment-to-moment thinking, and actually, the almost, meta game tends to mean something different, but the meta game, the game around the game, thinking about, okay, we have these heroes, how do we best use them? People asking also about, who was there? It was actually really surprising, and this question is actually kind of fun to answer. There wasn't that many people there. I'd say ballpark 25, maybe 30 tops people there, and they were all community people. This was very much a community event. It was fantastic, because I got to meet a lot of people. A few people met me. If you are one of the people who attended the event, I was the very tired, jet-lagged, semi-balding British guy. I'm, talked to a lot of developers, talked to a few of the people around there, had a great time meeting as many people as I could, was hoping to meet a few more people, but I was very focused on trying to get as much playtime as possible. I had a lot of good times with a lot of people. We played a lot of good Overwatch, and it was a very community-focused and community-centric event. Blizzard want to, I think, invest in the community and building the community. They're not that interested right now in talking directly to the press, although I'm sure, they have their channels talking to the press. But they made a very concerted effort to make this a community-led event, and that's why I've been very, very happy, basically, to go to the the R Overwatch, to talk with people, to answer as many questions as I can, because that feels like the approach they want. They want people talking to people about their experiences. They want this information out there. They want people, they have confidence in their game to put it in our hands and then say, play it, go away and talk about it. And it's paying off, I think. I think everyone left that event feeling very positive. One of my favourite questions is always, who's your favourite character? Mine will remain Widowmaker. I love playing snipers, and Widowmaker to me has that extra mobility, makes her very, very powerful. The mobility thing is interesting because you have some characters who can move around really freely. So Mercy, to me, is one of the slickest, fastest moving characters in the game. She can move so fast, so often. And then you have someone like Widowmaker who can only zipline about every 10 seconds, so you really have to pick and choose your moments, but you can zipline to just about anything, and using it is so easy, it's so smooth, it's the typical Blizzard polish that you'd expect of, you know, a Blizzard game. And it was good times to use it, and basically what it meant was, if I ever felt like, you know, the enemy team had sussed me out, that they were launching a tracer to come kill me, or that, you know, Farahs were just spamming my position with rockets, I could zipline to somewhere else, find a new position, and then start shooting all over again. That little bit of extra mobility just incentivizes the way I like to play sniper a little bit more. You know, moving around, finding the good positions, finding positions where people aren't quite expecting you, and using that to land the decisive killing blows, because when people are expecting you, they're dodging normally, and they're shooting at you, and that's bad times for a sniper. One question people seem to have quite a lot, for example, is, you know, how is finding enemies and how is visibility of enemies? It's very, very easy to tell if it's an enemy tracer, for example. Their name is in red and they have a big red bar that symbolizes their health when you start shooting at them, and they're generally shooting at you. Finding people is also quite straightforward. The maps feel well suited for the size of the game. I wasn't ever really running around on my own that much. The only time when I'd say I was running around on my own was when I died and when I was running back to the front line, which only emphasizes how important Symmetra is. Also, let me talk about the map design in general, because that's actually quite interesting. The maps they're fairly focused, but because they have this vertical movement aspect, the maps are very interesting, where some characters can use this verticality very, very effectively and some can't. You're constantly watching this aerial path, but you're also trying to keep an eye on the ground as well. So for example, Tracer is going to come from the floor. Tracer is going to move, you know, using the ground, but someone like Pharaoh can just launch above you and rain death onto the capture point. And it's very, very important to sort of be thinking in three-dimensional space, and the maps are very accommodating to that, so some characters will have almost shortcuts to get to where they need to be. Because I've been talking and waffling on about the event for about 40 minutes, hopefully I've given you an impression of at least some of the things I saw. Just to wrap up, I think Blizzard have got something good in their hands right now. There is a lot of potential here, and a lot of it's already realized. I think the game is very, very polished. I didn't see a single bug, which this is, you know, in the modern age of gaming terms, this is technically pre-alpha, but it's very, very slick. It played beautifully, the engine is responsive, the shooting feels good, the hit markers feel very responsive. I felt the guns worked, you know, it played well. It played well, it was fun, I want to play more of it. I've seen people say, oh my god, I'm so hyped for the game. I'm even more hyped than I ever was. Since playing it, I can't wait to get it in my hands again, play around with it more, and enjoy myself, and maybe try and work on some of this team play aspect more than just, you know, messing around with individual characters. So this has been 40 minutes of talking about Overwatch. I've been one amongst many. If you have more questions, post them in the comments, post them on Reddit, post them where I can see them, and I'll try and address them when I can. I will have a video that will come out March 6th. I'm hopefully getting 1 or 2 videos out on that date to cover some of the things that are coming up. And hopefully that can address more of the questions that, you know, ask very specific things that might technically be new information. And I want to kind of stay on Blizzard's good books, so I'd rather not accidentally breach an NDA. And I'm aware it might not be the biggest detail if I let slip that, you know, they have this tiny options menu thing, but I still don't want to be that guy. So, I've been one amongst many. You've listened to me rant about, well, not rant, but rave perhaps, about Overwatch for the last 40 minutes if you've made it this far. So thanks for listening. Toodles.
There you are.